How's it going, guys? And welcome back into the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel. Guys, the NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and it is a very exciting time to be a Celtics fan. Before we get started here, I just want you guys to go check out all of our social medias in the link down below in the description and follow us there because we're going to be having you covered all throughout the NBA playoffs, all things Celtics. We got podcasts, post game shows, and in-arena content and interviews that we really are excited about doing and think you guys would enjoy. So if you're a Celtics fan or even an NBA fan, please drop a follow, subscribe, turn on post notifications because it would mean a lot, guys. Now, let's hop into the video. Woo! Let the music ring. It's a different type.
Oh yeah,
right? It's a different type of music. It's not the post game show.
Yeah, it's a new season. The regular season doesn't matter. It's all over now. We're on to better things. We're on to the championships. We're on to rings. We're on to awards. We're on to banners. And we're here to hand out a couple right now.
I know. I feel like I'm a little underdressed for the occasion right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's award time, man. So how's it going, everybody? I know. I should have. It was a missed opportunity. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into the Celtics Talk Weekly podcast. I am your host, Rob and joined with me is my co-host, Nick Franco. Guys, it's exciting time. It's the playoffs, right? And with that comes this weird grace period for us in this week. So we're going to be pumping out content all week long, all playoffs long. It's going to be a great spot if you're a Celtics fan to come and really, listen to the C's and talk about the C's during your playoff experience with us. Today we got a little award show, a little award podcast, celebrating this great regular season that the Boston Celtics had. Obviously, job's not finished, right? Job finished. Like Kobe said, job's not finished. What's there to be happy about? However, you should celebrate when it's time of celebration. And what perfect time to celebrate than the Celtics waiting to see what happens and who they play in the play-in game. So we got 6 nominations, 6 awards to give out, and a bunch of guys who, are nominated for some awards. And Franco, let's not even waste any time. I feel like we should just hop right into this. The first nomination, the first award we got to give out is the Most Improved Player of the Year award. Guys, the nominations for this award are Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and Derek White. All 3 players who kind of found themselves playing a bigger role this year, Franco. Their play speaks for itself. Kind of give me a brief, quick little breakdown on why each 3 of these players deserve to be here.
Very tenured players. We look around the NBA and going into the start of the regular season, the Celtics bench was a question mark for us.
Right.
A lot of unproven players that haven't had their moments. You look around the NBA, you looked at teams like especially over in the West, you looked at teams like the Clippers having Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, and players of that caliber. Even on the East Coast, you had the Bucks with players like Jay Crowder and more experienced veterans on there and established role players. And these players definitely had to step up into larger roles. You look at Peyton Pritchard and we can look at Peyton Pritchard. Was given an extension, was rumored in trade talks before the offseason began, and was the odd man out for the Boston Celtics last year with Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart on the roster. He was kind of the third, fourth guard used in the rotation, and we saw him have to step up huge for the Celtics with Derek White and Drew Holiday being the starters for the team as the running a 2 guard rotation instead of having Brogdon coming off the bench as the 6. Um, he stepped up into a more facilitating role, and he also has that spark plug ability. Then we look at Derek White, who was more of a rotation player. We talked about last year he had to develop into that confidence. And then the last player would be Sam Hauser, and he was looked at as usually a one skilled player, 3-point shooter, developed with us through the G League and started off with minimal minutes DNPs throughout last year and the beginning of this season.
Right.
And he stepped up huge. There were a lot of nights that he would have 6 for 8 shooting performances, and those streaks would go on. And if he has a few of those performances during a championship run, his name will be in the record books, and Boston media and Boston fans will remember and love him forever.
Absolutely. So let's hop right into it. This year's 2023-2024 most improved player is
move the ball and move bodies, but also know that Tatum is the guy out there that has to have the ball in his hands a lot more.
Another offensive rebound. Wizards are the worst rebounding team in the league on both ends of the floor. And
I'll be honest with you, Drew, watching that.
Hauser, cash money.
Man, what footwork coming off that screen.
Got the stay ready group out there. Hauser, 20-point. And Sam Hauser. O'Shea Brissett's got the offensive rebound. Hauser waits, shoots, bullseye.
Ain't nothing but nylon.
Final Pac-12 tournament. Nice hands from Tatum. Holiday on the steal. Hauser, another. Oh, the Howitzer's going to overheat here in D.C.
Look at this.
Woo! Sam Hauser, most improved. Now, listen, Sam is a guy that his role really wasn't defined last year. We really didn't see him at all in the playoffs. He was a guy that we kind of thought as the 9th man, 10th man on this team, last year's team. And we didn't really know what his role was going to be this year. We knew that it could potentially be the 6th man, 7th man, sharpshooter. But when you look at Sam Hauser and his growth this year, Franco, you really see a player that is a whole new caliber of guy, is a guy that you can actually trust. And I think, you know, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard are 2 phenomenal guys who had 2 really big years and much were improved from last year. But if you look at the role in which Peyton Pritchard and Derek White played, they're kind of still similar. If you look at what Sam Hauser's been doing for us on a consistent basis this year, you really got to, you know, give your props and give him props to Sam Hauser because of, you know, how much of an improved player he is, how, you know, versatile he's been able to be. When he's on and he's going, he's an absolute flamethrower from behind the arc. So, you know, with that being said, this year's winner of the most improved player is Sam Hauser. Very much so deserving. All 3 of those guys are, right? All these guys who we have nominated are very much so deserving of the award that they get. Now, next one up, we got Play of the Year. Now, this one is really exciting in my opinion because there were so many great plays this year. The nominations, you see it on your screen. The Jason Tatum dagger against the Minnesota Timberwolves at home. The Jaylen Brown poster over Rudy Gobert in the Jaylen Brown dropping Luka Doncic. Now, Franco, I feel like it was a common trend when we were kind of deciding, or when I was looking through the plays of this year, Jaylen Brown's name was thrown in a lot because that dude made some high energy, really high energy plays. I mean, that's not much to it.
I kind of have labeled Jaylen Brown for this season and going into the playoffs as the official captain and also the maestro puppeteer for how the Celtics look and perform. I understand that it all comes down to if Jason Tatum is having one of his top tier performances, but without Jason or Jaylen Brown, I think a lot of Jason Tatum's large performances don't happen, and I also feel like Jaylen kind of motivates Jason Tatum to make these types of plays and become that alpha player, almost
Right.
competing with him on the court while playing with him. That makes sense. And
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think,
the
yeah,
2 of them. I mean, obviously, we'll get more into it once we announce the nomination, but I think Play of the Year is, in my opinion, a play that sticks out. And one that you look back and when you look at this season, you're going to remember it as kind of like the statement play of this year. I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White, I mean, everyone had a bunch of them. These three, I think, stuck out the most to me because of not only, was it a big time play, but it kind of shifted the energy of the game. And, with that said, let's hand it out. Let's look right into it, Franco. This year's 2023-2024 Celtics Talk Weekly Play of the Year winner is...
Edwards in trouble, turned it over. Holiday over to Tatum for three. Kill shot.
Kill shot. This wasn't the Gorman call, or the Scow call. I remember Scow was saying, oh yeah, that's right, blow a kiss to him, and Tatum, But I will say this: the other two plays were on the road, and I wasn't in the arena for, obviously, but this one I was in the arena for, and I will say that moment was one of the craziest. And I've seen a lot of games at TD Garden. Was probably the most, right behind the Jason Tatum layup against Brooklyn. I mean, the Garden was shaking. And to get that type of energy and to get that type of play in a game like that Boston was playing, like that magnitude, 2 1 seeds just battling it out in an overtime thriller, that play, the steal from Holiday, the transition break, Tatum backing up for 3, sinking the dagger shot. To me, it was a no question. Jaylen Brown, those 2 plays were electrifying, but I don't think it had the type of magnitude at home in a big moment against a 1 seed to really put the game away that, the Jason Tatum play had. So with that, I think you kind of had to go Jason Tatum for this nomination. Now, next one up, this is the Clutch Player of the Year. Now, this one, it was a tough one because you got a team full of guys that it felt like every other night was their moment. But for this nomination and this award, the 3 nominees are Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Now, these 3 guys, I think, really in particular, stuck out. And when I say clutch player, I'm talking fourth quarter, right? Guys that felt like we're consistently performing at the highest level in the fourth quarter, making, not just offensive plays, but defensive stops as well. And I think those 3 guys, Franco, in my opinion, were the real best nominees, I think, for this award.
And we can switch out the word clutch for consistent. And those
Right.
words are almost alternative when it comes to these 3 nominees. Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis were very consistent. We knew exactly what we were going to get from them on a nightly basis. Derek White was able to have some great performances that stuck out more. He was able to go on the hot stretch. There's a reason why all of Boston was clamoring for him to be an all-star.
Right.
Drew Holiday has just been an absolute upgrade at the point guard position, and we're only going to see him become more involved. What I would like to see the Celtics do throughout the playoff time is utilize him more as that number, as that like 1 on the court, and use him as that free safety on the defensive end, but also allow him to be the play caller on the offensive side. And I think that will come in huge. And then Kristaps Porzingis, when we were able to have him perform, and the fact that he wasn't out for long stretches over 2 games in a row throughout
Right.
the entire regular season is an absolute luxury, and beats the expectations that people had for him. Most of the concerns about him were if he was going to be able to perform throughout the season. But you look at clutch players, you have A and B, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum as our lead scorers, but it- you need the other option, and there are 5 players on the court, and one player that has stepped up for us in years past and has became the Celtic fan favorite, Derek White, has just done a sensational job of just being that composed, high IQ type player for the Celtics.
Right. I think when you think of clutch player, you think of the guys that are doing stuff, not just scoring. And I think that's why Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, unfortunately, weren't a nominee this regular season, because it kind of felt like in the clutch moments, those guys kind of were having some trouble this year. White, Holiday, Porzingis, 3 guys that I felt very comfortable this year when they're on the court. Porzingis with his offensive, dominant presence that we could dump it down to him. Holiday, really, his shooting was just phenomenal in the clutch, and then the impact he holds on the defensive end to get those steals and those stops. And then Derek White, he's just a combination of everything. He knocked down big shots this year. He got big stops, and he really was just a high motor guy in that fourth quarter that kind of felt like he dug the Celtics, I feel like, out of games that should have been close. And then here comes Derek White with an 8-0 run by himself to put the league back up by 15. So when you talk about clutch, it's not just last play of the game. It really is that whole fourth quarter, the last 8 minutes when the game's close or tight or getting close. Who was the guy that kind of, took you out of that? And the answer to that question, Franco, drum roll, please. The winner of the 2023-2024 CTW Clutch Player of the Year is...
Great switch by Miami. Oh, that's the dilemma, though, right? That slight hesitation, the space to 3, and the Derek White bucket. Good offense, and again, they present constant dilemmas, the Celtics. White feeling it. And then Holiday snags it away from Adebayo. White open. Primary ball handler. Jason gives it back. Derek White had beat Brown. May have gotten away with a push-off, and Adebayo gets it from behind. Here comes Butler the other way. The cross, and White blocked it. Ridiculous, folks. This looks like it's going to be a layup. Watch Derek White sprint and tell Jimmy Butler, not happening here. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. 3 blocks for Derek White. Led the Celtics in total blocks a year ago. That's a guard, folks.
That's a guard, folks. I love that. Doris Burke on the call there. I mean, we said it, before the nomination. D. White all year long was the Celtics' best clutch time player, statistically and, just with the naked eye test. And, it was without a doubt his most complete year of his career. And really, I think, was the backbone of the Celtics' fourth quarter success when it did come. And I think that last play, Franco, that we watched was kind of like the summary of it was a Jaylen Brown isolation attempt into a Jimmy Butler block into a Derek White chase down. Those are the types of plays that Derek White was making all year long in clutch time, right? It wasn't an isolation, but it was always a big time play. And I think, when you look at the Celtics moving forward into the playoffs, Derek White in his clutch time play is going to be huge for the C's if they really want to make a run at this, which I think they will. So yes, Derek White is this year's Clutch Player of the Year. Now, let's move on. Let's keep the show rolling. The next one up is Game of the Year, Franco. Now, this one, we talked about this, and it was weird because the Celtics, they didn't play in many close games this year. And a lot of them, they actually didn't have much success in. However, this one right here, we think we came out with 3 statement wins by the Celtics. I think this is the 3 games that the Celtics really made the biggest statement of the year. Game 1, Celtics versus Timberwolves. We saw the play of the game, or play of the year, highlight from JT already. Celtics coming back down 9 in that fourth quarter against the 1 seed at home. We had previously lost to on the road earlier in the year, is one of the nominations. Number 2 is the Celtics versus Warriors. When we won by 52, it was a statement that the Celtics needed to make to the league to kind of show that, listen, the ghosts of their prior years are gone. They do not fear the Warriors, and they're on another level of the Warriors. And a kind of a similar theme, Celtics versus Heat, that home opener game that we just kind of saw Derek White make those, highlight plays from. That was a win that the Celtics kind of needed to start off the year and to set the tone, I think, for what they were going to be about all year. Defensive stops, clutch play, and really separated themselves and put to rest early that narrative that they can't beat the Heat, Franco.
Yeah, right off the jump, what this team. We started before the show. We went down the entire schedule. We almost went game for game. Starting off even with the first game in New York, there were statements made with Kristaps hitting 3-pointers while the New York crowd was trying to get under his skin. And then the game immediately after, we deal with New York or Miami, and those are the biggest ghosts will have to deal with. And if us as Celtics Instagram page owners, we know what our comment sections look like with other fans.
It's ugly. It's ugly.
It's always either Warriors or Heat, and those are the two excuses and two humps that we need to get over. Those are the two kryptonites, and I think the team has done a lot in general to get over that. But let's not focus on the past with this team. And I think the biggest win with this team would be the statement comeback win and against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Being able to back against such a highly competitive young team, and before during the regular first half of the season, the biggest problem for the Boston Celtics was their was the younger teams, were the Indiana Pacers of the world, the Orlando Magic of the world. Those teams that will give you a run for their money because they have something to prove, and it might be a night that you could find yourself playing down to their level. And the Celtics did a very good job this season of avoiding that, of not playing down to the level of their opponents and keeping that clear cut standard. And I think what really made that statement was Minnesota.
Right. Well, you might have spoiled it a little bit, but it's okay. The winner of the 2023-2024 Game of the Year is none other than the matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Tatum to the rack, got the roll. Tatum, a lot of dribbling, pull up from deep, got a three. 21 for 21, one more to tie it. He can't. Whoa. Offensive rebound, Derek White. Now the Celtics have a chance to take the lead. Tatum gives it up, extra pass, Holiday in the corner, hits. Edwards on the attack, fouled on the way to the rim. Edwards ties it up for 13 at the line. Alexander Walker got a three. Reed all over Tatum. And he fouls Tatum. No, there's no reason for that. The Celtics have only missed one free throw all night. Tatum, crossover in the lane, layup is good. Edwards in trouble, turned it over. Holiday over to Tatum for three. Kill shot. Wolves win round one. Celtics win round two.
Wolves win round one. Celtics win round two. That kind of just shows you what that game meant for the Celtics. T-Wolves are a team that were bugging the C's in that first matchup. Got the best of them. A very similar game, if you remember, Franco. Boston goes into Minnesota on the road, an overtime game. Anthony Edwards, the Timberwolves' best player, takes over an OT and puts the Celtics to rest. Fast forward about 3 months in January, Timberwolves come to town, overtime matchup, Celtics' best player, put the Timberwolves to rest, to sleep, to bed, and that is why that had to be the game of the year. That is the Celtics' signature statement win this year, a win in which they needed, and if they hadn't gotten that win, I would have been a little worried going into the playoff that they didn't have a signature statement win. So I think that game really, spoke to what the Celtics could do. And mind you, you talk about clutch player of the year. Let's revert back to that, right? Free throw, Celtics down one. Tatum misses. Who comes in and snags that rebound? Derek White into a great ball rotation into a standing open Drew Holiday. So a little more explanation as to the clutch player of the year. Those guys really just make the play inside the margins. Not saying that Brown and Tatum didn't make great plays this year, because they did, but that one in particular kind of showed you and highlighted what they can do. Now, next award up, we got 2 left. It's going by so fast, but this one is a good one. Defensive Player of the Year. 3 guys, and this was the toughest one, in my opinion, to hand out an award for, because each of these 3 guys deserve this award. And if I could give it to all 3 of them, I would, but I can't. Unfortunately, got to make tough decisions. Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown are your nominees for this year's Defensive Player of the Year award. There are 3 guys who, in my opinion, are all defensive first team guys. I don't think that will be the case. I think Derek White will get the all NBA or all defensive first team nod, and I think Holiday and Brown will get the second team nod. Wouldn't be shocked if 2 get first, 1 gets second. That's just my shot in the dark prediction. These 3 guys were incredibly huge for the Celtics, guarding the best players on every single night. I kind of talked about it in last podcast. Drew Holiday plays this free safety role for the Celtics that you really have to look for to notice it. And it's just genius of Joe Mazzulla, quite frankly. And Holiday plays it so well. Derek White is the high energy guy on defense. He makes all the high energy stops. He is leading the league for blocks as a guard. We're not leading the league for guards in blocks. He is just a phenomenal defensive high energy player. And then Jaylen Brown this year was just the dog of the team. He was the anchor on defense. He was always stepping up. You would see him pick up full court. He was always guarding the other team's best players. He wanted that defensive assignment. He's going to want that defensive assignment come playoff time. So, Franco, I think when you look at these 3, it's the clear-cut top 3 guys on defense. It's just each of these players deserve Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. It's really tough. We have to pick one.
Yeah, it's a really we could honestly give it to the entire starting lineup with how they stepped up. We could even throw Kristaps a nomination and have him in a conversation for this, because just how well they played as a unit. I think Jaylen Brown was definitely a off-ball presence, him being able to step up and guard wings, but Derek White and Drew Holiday being the defensive guard pair that they were,
Right.
almost eliminated a lot of teams' playmaking abilities and would shut down their momentum before they could even get it started. That's why we went down the schedule and we saw so many 20-point wins. And the defensive ratings that we saw from this team were remarkable. I think we can make an argument for everyone, but Drew Holiday, I think, had an extremely strong season, and we knew what we were going to get from him. He was a pain to us. He was a player that you didn't want to play against, but a player that you wanted to have. And now we have him. And
Right.
The comparison I've been making is he is Marcus Smart without having to do the extra stuff to make himself look more energetic. He brings the energy without having to lay it all on the line and make.
Right.
I think the eye to the defensive side has completely shifted this complete Celtics defense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So let's get right into it. This year's 2023-2024 CTW Defensive Player of the Year winner is, drum roll please, I gotta find which play it is. Hold on, sorry. This is good because I can edit this out. Hold on.
I keep on giving it away before we get to it. I keep on trying to throw the alley-oop to the drum roll.
Tatum.
That's why I keep on saying the winner as
Wait,
the third person I bring up.
Which one is it? It's got to be. Oh, yeah, it's this one. All right. We're good.
finds Barnes on the inbound. They got to go. Holiday all over him, and he strips it.
Hayes out to Prince. Prince this time on the bounce. Back to Hayes. Blocked from behind by
Duos of Brown and Tatum doing pretty well.
Kyrie.
On 7 of 8 shooting. On 7 of 8 shooting.
Holiday. He's also strong. Randall. Tough.
Trust a rookie in that position.
Knocked away by Holiday.
Just can't hit from the corner. Claxton puts it up with the left hand. That's not.
Poole steps through. Holiday says, "Get that."
Carroll inside Isaac. That's where we used to see Isaac.
Drew Holiday, man. Drew Holiday. I mean, like you said, he's been so huge for this team. He is really the center of everything the Celtics do defensively. And I challenge you before the players start, if you're listening to this or watching this, to go and watch one of the full games and just look at how the Celtics use Drew Holiday. He is kind of constantly the help man. He's responsible for everything inside the paint in that first little level. And I really think that when you look at the Celtics and what they did defensively this year, you got to give your props and credit to everyone, but specifically Drew Holiday. And, you know, I knew how good of an on-ball individual defender Drew was before he got to Boston. I wasn't aware of how, you know, feisty he was off the ball. And, you know, there was a reason why the NBA players and players throughout the league and coaches refer to Drew as probably the toughest guard in the NBA defensively. Because of just what he can bring to the table. The tool set he has is truly unmatched. So he is this year's defensive player of the year. Now, the last award we got, man, you probably are guessing, might be why you're here. The most valuable player. Now, the nominees for this award are Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. Now, we were talking about this and we're deciding who to give it to. And this one was, I think I had my preferred one and Franco had his preferred one. And then we kind of mutually agreed that it should be one of these guys. Again, most valuable player is tough because it's no question one of these three guys, right? Jason Tatum, right? Off glance, he's top 5 in MVP voting. It's different on how you interpret it. I think in terms of this, it really is just who was the most valuable player this year. I think all three of these guys hold a valid case. Derek White was really making all the high energy plays and dragged us through some big wins. Jaylen Brown, same thing. High energy plays, was probably the most consistent of the three on a night-to-night basis, and was really the dog of this team. And then Jason Tatum, you know, he's the team's best player. He carries the biggest load, and he has to do the most on any given night, and he did a good job at that this year, Franco.
Yeah, I think that we go down the options. Nominees. I think Jaylen Brown has made a serious statement, had a serious statement season as of why he earned the paycheck that he did. And as we know, in 3 or 4 years, we're going to look at that as a steal compared to what players like Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, when their paychecks come into play. And we look at Derek White, he was obviously a huge cornerstone, but there's a reason why we have franchise players, and I think Jason Tatum has secured that role on this team. And if he's going to be in the conversation amongst the NBA, he has to be amongst the conversation for his own team.
Exactly.
I think he, as the lead scorer, had some leading in assists, has stepped up huge for the Celtics in a sense of being a playmaker, being that lead guy, understanding that he's the number one option on a team with A, B, C, D, and E on their team. And I think he has found his role and able to find his comfort zone. And once he starts having those performances, which Joe Mazzulla has preached more and more, that with playoffs, just wait until playoffs. And from what I've heard from the report from what they had at practice today,
Right.
this team is bringing a new level of intensity that I don't even think we've seen unlocked yet. And I guarantee that they're almost opening a second playbook when playoffs roll around, that Joe Mazzulla has kept it with a double lock code, 4 digits to get into it.
Right. So the winner of the 2023-2024 Most Valuable Player of the Year, you might have guessed it, is Jason Tatum.
Tatum doing it all. Kicks it out, gets it back.
Oh, whoa. That is disgusting. Look at Tatum erase that thing.
Like 2.5 seconds left in the shot clock. Horford 3 up and 50 feet.
That was a nice pass.
If you watch Dennis Smith Jr. play at NC State, you know he's got buddies. He can get up there. Tatum cyclones in and scores, plus the foul.
This is pure muscle. Spin, finish, through contact, and one.
This year, I think Tatum really, it was a weird year for him because I think he struggled a lot, but I also think his struggle kind of came with finding where he belongs on this team, which is kind of crazy to say because everyone in the locker room, everyone in the organization, the fan base around the league knows this is Jason Tatum's team. He is the top dog. He is the alpha man alongside Jaylen Brown. But I think it was tough for Tatum to figure out and know when to be aggressive and when to be the playmaker and facilitator that he needed to be. And I think when he was going, he was Jason Tatum. He was unguardable. And more times than not this year, he was exactly who the Celtics need him to be. I think he had an up and down year, but really something I talked a lot about was yesterday was, and if you put something I talked about yesterday was if you put Jason Tatum in a vacuum this season, he was the MVP. It was very clear that he was. So this year's MVP, I believe he won it last year too, and the year before that. So he might not be the NBA MVP, but I'll tell you what, he is the CTW MVP yet again. But yeah, guys. So I just want to say thank you for joining us and listening. The playoffs we're super excited for, obviously, to watch the Celtics. But what we're really excited for too is to produce all this great content we have coming your way. I said at the start of the video, I'm going to say at the end, if you're not following us on our social medias, do that right now. We're going to have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be doing, watch-alongs, podcasts, post-game shows, in-arena content, and interviews. So it's a very exciting time for us at Celtics Talk Weekly, and we want to really provide you guys with the best content. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us in and listening. I'm Rob, and next to me is my man, Nick Franco. And until next time, you know the deal. Go Celtics.